You know that feeling. You decide it's time to lose a few pounds, and suddenly you're just bombarded.
Oh, yeah.
Every corner of the internet, every friend, they have the answer.
Right.
It leaves you wondering, beyond all the noise, what strategies actually, have science on their side.
Exactly the question we're tackling today. Our mission, really, is to cut through that often confusing world of weight loss diets
Okay.
and focus on what the evidence truly tells us. You're looking to understand the landscape, see different
Get
angles.
those aha moments.
Precisely. And without feeling like you're swimming in jargon, that's what we're setting out to achieve.
And to guide us, we've got a really comprehensive review. It's on dietary therapy for obesity from Up to Date.
A great resource, used by doctors, healthcare professionals.
Yeah, and it covers a huge amount of ground,
Yeah.
different ways of eating, setting realistic goals, understanding what influences success, all that stuff.
And since this deep dive is tailored for you, the listener, we'll be pinpointing the most useful stuff.
Practical insights.
Practical, maybe even surprising insights. Things that can reshape how you think about various eating patterns, including the ever-popular topic of intermittent fasting.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
We all kind of know we should lose weight if we need to, but why? Why does even a little bit of weight loss matter so much for health? It's more than just the number on the scale.
Absolutely. I mean, fitting into certain clothes might be a nice perk, sure.
Yeah.
But the real story is the significant improvements in your physical health, your mental well-being, even just how well your body functions day to day.
Give me some concrete examples. What kind of health wins are we talking about here?
Well, look, even losing just 5 to 7% of your current body weight, that can lead to noticeable improvements.
In what?
Key risk factors for cardiovascular disease, things like your cholesterol levels, blood pressure, how your body handles blood sugar.
Okay, that's significant.
And here's where it gets really interesting. Studies like the Look Ahead trial showed that more substantial loss, say 10% or more, that was actually linked to a lower risk of experiencing cardiovascular events down the line.
Wow.
It highlights that even moderate, achievable weight loss can have really big long-term health impacts, maybe more than chasing drastic, unsustainable goals,
That's a really powerful motivator.
Hmm.
So let's get down to basics then. What's the fundamental science? How do we actually lose weight?
At its core, it's all about balance. Energy in versus energy out.
Food versus burning calories.
Exactly. When you consistently take in fewer calories than you expend, your body has to tap into its stored energy reserves, fat, usually.
And that's weight loss.
That's weight loss. And initially, the rate is fairly predictable. It's based on the size of that calorie deficit.
So like cut 500 calories a day.
You'd typically expect to lose about a pound or half a kilo a week, roughly.
Okay. Now, I know a lot of people, myself included sometimes, struggle with keeping it off long term. What makes that so tough?
You're right, and it's a very common experience. Predicting long-term success for any one person is, well, difficult. So many factors. How well someone sticks to their plan. Individual genetics play a role.
Right.
And it's also very normal to hit weight loss plateaus, often around the 3 to 6 month mark.
The dreaded plateau. Why does that happen?
Well, it can happen because as you lose weight, you might also lose some lean muscle mass. And muscle helps burn calories even at rest, so your metabolism might slow down a bit.
Ah, so the original calorie deficit isn't working as well anymore.
Exactly. You might need to make further adjustments, either cut calories more or increase activity.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any maybe surprising differences in how weight loss plays out for different groups, men versus women, older versus younger?
Yeah, there are some interesting trends. For example, men often tend to lose weight a bit faster than women on the same diet,
Really? Why is that?
often because men typically have a higher percentage of lean body mass, muscle, so their resting energy expenditure is higher.
I see.
Also, older individuals tend to lose weight more gradually than younger people. Our metabolic rate naturally declines a little bit, decade by decade.
How much?
About 2% per decade is the estimate.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got the why, the basic how. What's the general foundational advice this up-to-date review gives for diet?
The cornerstone, really, is reducing total calorie intake.
Just eat less.
Essentially. A general starting point for weight loss is aiming for less than, say, 20 calories per kilogram of your ideal body weight.
Okay. And the review also stresses getting enough nutrients, even when cutting calories. That seems important, maybe overlooked sometimes.
Absolutely crucial. Nutrient deficiencies can happen even in people with obesity.
Right.
And the risk can actually increase during weight loss, especially if someone's looking at bariatric surgery or doing very low-calorie diets.
And older adults, too.
Yeah, we need to be particularly careful with older adults because of the risk of sarcopenia, that age-related muscle loss. Rapid weight loss can potentially make that worse.
Got it. So based on this expert review, what are some concrete, actionable steps someone could start doing, like today?
Okay, several key things. First, eliminate liquid calories. Sodas, juice, sweetened coffee drinks. Those add up fast.
Hidden sugars.
Exactly. Minimize processed foods as much as you can. Avoid trans fats completely. Limit saturated fats. Less than 10% of daily calories is the goal.
Okay.
Eat enough fiber. Aim for around 14 grams per 1,000 calories. Drink plenty of water, at least 1.5 liters a day. Good target.
Portion sizes, too.
Definitely pay attention to portions. And self-monitoring can really help. Food diaries, regular weigh-ins, they give valuable feedback.
What about the environment?
Setting up your kitchen, your pantry to support healthy choices makes a huge difference. Get the junk food out, have healthy options visible.
Makes it easier.
It does. And ultimately, it's about adopting a healthy eating pattern you can actually stick with long-term. Sustainability.
What about vitamins? Should everyone just start popping a multivitamin when they try to lose weight?
Not necessarily as a blanket rule, but it's definitely something to be mindful of.
Okay.
The review mentions potential deficiencies. Vitamin D, B12, folate are common ones.
So maybe get checked.
Yeah, your doctor might recommend testing, especially if you have risk factors, and suggest supplements if needed.
Good to know.
Also, to make sure you're getting basic nutrients and to avoid a big drop in your metabolic rate, it's generally advised not to go below 800 to 1,200 calories a day consistently, unless you're under medical supervision.
And protein. Hear a lot about that.
Protein is vital. Aim for about 1 to 2 grams per kilogram of your ideal body weight. It helps preserve that precious muscle mass while you're losing fat.
Right. Okay, now let's get into the different types of diets. This review covers a whole range. Fad diets, Mediterranean, low carb. What are the main takeaways?
So the review looks at conventional diets, those over 800 calories a day. Fad diets often promise the moon.
But don't deliver long term.
Usually not. They're notoriously hard to stick with. Balanced low-calorie diets, though, like the Mediterranean or DASH diet.
Those have good reputations.
They do, and they offer more flexibility. That's key for sustainability. Generally, you want to minimize alcohol, sugary drinks, concentrated sweets with these.
And the Mediterranean diet isn't just low-cal, right? It's about healthy fats.
Exactly. Olive oil, fish, good fats that are heart-healthy and also help you feel full. Satiety is important.
The review also mentions portion-controlled meals, meal replacements. Are those effective?
Yeah, they can be quite useful, especially for starting out or even maintaining weight loss later.
How do they help?
They simplify planning, take some guesswork out, make it easier to track calories accurately.
What do people stick with them?
That's the catch. It really depends. Do you like the taste? Is there enough variety? Does it fit your lifestyle long term? Personal preference is huge.
What about low-fat diets? Those were big a while back.
They were low fat, so less than 30% of energy from fat. They can lead to greater energy expenditure and fat loss.
Especially if you replace the fat with
Healthy carbs, fruits, veggies, whole grains, not refined carbs.
Right.
Interestingly, the Women's Health Initiative study found that a low-fat diet rich in these healthy carbs didn't cause weight gain, and weight loss actually correlated with how much people cut their fat intake.
How would someone do that? Count fat grams.
That's one way. Menu plans or, tracking fat grams, maybe aiming for around 30 grams per 1,000 calories.
Okay. And then the flip side,
Yeah.
low-carb diets. Very popular now.
Very. You have low carb, maybe 60 to 130 grams a day, and then very low carb ketogenic diets, usually under 60 grams.
Yeah, the review says.
They do tend to be more effective for short-term weight loss compared to low fat.
Short term.
Yeah, the evidence suggests that advantage often doesn't last long-term.
Why the quick initial results then?
A lot of that initial rapid drop is water weight. You deplete your glycogen stores, stored carbs, and glycogen holds water.
Ah, so it's not all fat loss.
Not initially, no. And while ketogenic diets might slightly boost energy expenditure at the very beginning, that effect seems to fade.
If someone chooses low carb, what's important?
Focus on healthy fats and proteins, avocados, nuts, fish, lean meats, not just bacon and butter.
Good point. Any downsides?
Potential side effects with very low carb can include things like constipation, headache, bad breath, muscle cramps, stuff like that.
Okay, what about high-protein diets? The claim is they keep you full, maybe boost metabolism.
High protein, so maybe over 20% of calories from protein, they can definitely be more satiating, help you feel fuller longer.
Which helps with calorie control.
Right. And they might slightly increase thermogenesis, the calories your body burns digesting food.
Does the research back this up?
Some meta-analyses show modest short-term benefits: weight loss, fat mass loss, better triglycerides, and they might help with maintaining weight loss too.
The review also touches on very low-calorie diets, VLCDs. Sounds intense.
They are. We're talking 200 to 800 calories a day, typically reserved for specific medical situations.
Like before surgery.
Exactly, where rapid weight loss is needed. Interestingly, some newer weight loss meds can sometimes unintentionally push people into this calorie range.
So monitoring is key.
Crucial. Careful monitoring of nutrient intake. Anyone on a VLCD needs close medical supervision and definitely a daily multivitamin. Nutrient deficiencies are a real risk.
And those starvation diets below 200 calories.
Strongly discouraged. You get rapid loss, but often even more rapid regain. They aren't better long-term and carry significant risks. Definitely not for pregnant or breastfeeding women or kids.
Okay, now let's zoom in. Intermittent fasting, lots of curiosity about this. What does the up-to-date review say?
Right, so the review looks at various strategies: alternate day fasting, time-restricted feeding.
And the verdict.
They can be effective for weight loss, yes. However,
There's a however.
there is. The evidence doesn't suggest they are any more effective for weight loss than other diets that achieve the same overall calorie reduction.
So it's not some kind of magic bullet.
The data we have so far doesn't point that way. It seems the calorie deficit is still the primary driver.
Tell me about alternate day fasting. Like, eat normally one day, barely eat the next.
Sort of. It varies, but yeah, maybe very low calories on fast days, more regular eating on feast days. Studies comparing this to just restricting calories every day.
Find similar results.
Generally, yes. Comparable weight loss. One study on a 4.3 approach, 4 regular days, 3 very low-cal days, did show greater weight loss than daily restriction.
Oh.
But the researchers noted the confidence interval was wide, meaning the range of possible outcomes was broad. So, promising maybe, but not definitive.
Okay. And time-restricted feeding, or TRF? Eating in, say, an 8 or 10-hour window.
Right. That can simplify things for some people. No strict calorie counting, maybe.
Any unique benefits?
Circadian rhythms.
Some shorter-term studies hinted at potential benefits, possibly linked to our body's internal clocks, yes.
The longer term.
Longer-term studies haven't consistently shown a clear advantage over just cutting calories overall, regardless of the window.
Can you give an example?
Sure. One 12-month trial compared TRF plus calorie restriction versus just calorie restriction. Both groups ate within an 8-hour window in the TRF group.
Similar amounts of weight loss in both groups at the end of the year.
Suggesting
Suggesting the calorie restriction itself was the key factor, not necessarily the timing.
So why does intermittent fasting work for some people, if not superior? What are the mechanisms?
Well, it's still being researched, but the main way is likely just by helping people eat fewer calories overall.
Makes sense. A shorter window means less opportunity to eat.
For some, yes. That structure might make it easier to control intake compared to monitoring all day long.
Any other potential benefits being looked at?
There's ongoing research into other metabolic effects, improved insulin sensitivity, maybe anti-inflammatory effects, but we need more long-term human studies to really understand those.
Okay. So with all these different diets, low-fat, low-carb, IF, Mediterranean, how does someone choose what's right for them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Pretty much.
The fundamental scientific consensus is clear. Excess calories plus a sedentary lifestyle equals weight gain.
So the main goal is always
Create a consistent, sustainable calorie deficit. The up-to-date review really emphasizes focusing on a healthy overall dietary pattern.
like DAHH or Mediterranean.
Exactly. Rather than getting hyper-focused on just one nutrient, like carbs or fat, prioritize whole, unprocessed foods. That's the foundation.
So it sounds like there isn't one single best diet for everyone.
That's exactly right. When researchers directly compare these named diets, low-fat versus low-carb versus high-protein, the long-term results are pretty mixed.
That seems to matter more.
Adherence. Your ability to actually stick to the plan over the long haul seems way more critical for most people than the specific macronutrient ratio. Although the review does acknowledge that for certain individuals, tweaking those macros might help with adherence and maybe optimize outcomes, but for most, it's about finding what works for you.
So it really comes down to finding something you can maintain, and making healthy choices within that framework, whatever you call the diet.
Precisely. Whether you lean towards lower carb or lower fat or Mediterranean, the core advice is similar. Reduce refined carbs, processed meats, high sodium, trans fats, moderate unprocessed red meat. Eat plenty of fruits, veggies, nuts, fish, healthy oils, whole grains, legumes.
That allows for flexibility.
And better long-term adherence. The review does note that very low-carb diets might show slightly better results than some others in the first year.
But long-term.
The ideal long-term macronutrient mix is still unknown, and it's likely very individual.
So the bottom line really seems to be sticking with it.
Absolutely. The ability to sustain adherence is probably the single biggest predictor of success in long-term weight management.
Which means the approach needs to be personalized.
Yes. That's why shared decision-making is so important. Talking with your doctor or a dietitian.
Considering what?
Your individual eating habits, food preferences, how you manage hunger, your ability to stick to plans, even enjoyment of food.
Practical stuff, too.
Definitely. Time commitments, past experiences with diets, what kind of support you need, it all matters.
And what kind of support options are out there?
A whole range. Self-help resources, books, apps, online groups.
Okay.
More structured lifestyle programs, group or virtual. And then, maybe most valuable for many, individual counseling with a registered dietitian.
For that personalized plan and coaching.
Exactly.
Now, we've talked a lot about losing weight. What about the part that's often even harder, keeping it off?
Maintenance. Yes, that's frequently the bigger challenge.
Why is regain so common?
Our bodies have these physiological adaptations that actually kind of favor weight regain.
Seriously, how?
Well, your resting energy expenditure can decrease. You burn fewer calories at rest than before you lost weight.
Yeah.
And there are hormonal changes affecting appetite. Hunger hormones might go up, fullness hormones might go down.
Making you hungrier and less satisfied.
Exactly. And these changes can persist for a long time, at least a year after significant weight loss. It's like our bodies fight back against sustained weight loss.
That sounds discouraging. What can people do to counteract these forces?
Exercise becomes really crucial here. Physical activity helps offset some of that metabolic slowdown and manage appetite. Behavioral strategies, too.
Like self-monitoring.
Yes, continuing to self-monitor, having support systems. As for diet during maintenance,
Is there an ideal maintenance diet?
the optimal macronutrient mix isn't really known. Again, adherence to a healthy pattern is likely most important.
Any specific approaches showing promise?
There's been some interest in higher protein, lower glycemic index diets for maintenance. One study mentioned showed less regain with that type of diet over 6 months.
Interesting.
Also, it seems that letting people choose an intervention they actually prefer might improve their chances of sticking with it long term.
Yeah.
Patient preference matters.
This up-to-date review even touches on something a bit more futuristic. Calorie restriction and longevity.
Yeah, it's a fascinating area. Animal studies suggest long-term calorie restriction without malnutrition might extend lifespan.
How?
Possibly by reducing damaging molecules, reactive oxygen species, improving insulin sensitivity, things like that.
What about in humans?
One human study showed that 6 months of moderate calorie restriction led to weight loss, sure, but also some changes linked to potentially slower aging, lower fasting insulin, lower core body temp, less DNA damage.
But does it actually make humans live longer?
That's the big unknown. It's really important to stress that the impact on human lifespan is still very much an area of ongoing research. We don't have definitive answers.
Okay, so to wrap this all up, bring everything together, what are the absolute key takeaways you want listeners to remember? Especially thinking about intermittent fasting versus other approaches.
I think the most important thing is this. Sustainable weight loss boils down to creating a consistent calorie deficit.
Through a diet you can actually live with.
Exactly. A dietary pattern you can maintain over time. There's no single magic diet for everyone. Finding what fits your preferences, your lifestyle, your ability to adhere, that's crucial.
And intermittent fasting.
It can be an effective tool for some people to achieve that calorie deficit. But the current evidence says it's not inherently superior to other methods that cut calories similarly.
Got it.
And finally, remember, long-term success isn't just about losing the weight. It's equally about understanding your body's response and having strategies for maintenance.
That's all incredibly helpful. Really cuts through a lot of the noise. So for you listening, maybe take a moment. Think about what really clicks with your own habits.
Yeah.
What small, sustainable changes could you actually see yourself making?
Yeah.
The real power seems to be in finding that personalized approach you can stick with, not just for a few weeks, but as part of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
What pattern feels like it could be sustainable for you, not just another temporary fix.
Exactly. And if you're looking for more guidance, more support,
Yeah.
explore those healthy patterns we talked about. DASH, Mediterranean.
And maybe talk to a pro.
Consider reaching out to a registered dietitian. Get that personalized advice. Because remember, this journey towards better health, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Finding that sustainable approach is absolutely key.